with another video. Sorry about my little break of absence. I don't really know if anyone's actually looking for content, but we're back anyways. Had to go home for some family stuff. I was also running into the audio issue where audio is only coming out of the left side for headphone users, so I think I have that figured out. If you are listening to this on headphones and you're only hearing this out of the left side, please let me know. I'm so sorry about that. It should be fixed though, but definitely let me know if it's not. Anyways though, we are finally here. It is the start of the football season, so we are coming at you with the first. I am coming at you with the week 1 running back rankings. We're going to do all the rankings for all the positions this week. You can also ask me in the comments if you have a start sit question, whether it be with running back versus wide receiver or anything. Just ask it away in the comments and I can answer it. Like I said, this is top 25. I'm going to be breaking out into tiers. I'm doing it on the tier maker website. It just makes it a little bit easier for me. Let me know if this works for you guys or if you want to see me do it in a different style. This way is just going to be the easiest for me. These week 1 rankings won't be too different than the draft rankings. Obviously, there will be some differences depending on matchup and certain situations, but overall, it'll be pretty similar to what the actual draft rankings are. As we get more data throughout the season of running backs who are doing really good and defenses who are not good, it'll help determine these start sit questions more. Right now, we're kind of just going on what we predict is going to happen and the data from last year and who different teams brought in the offseason. So with all that said, let's get into it. Now, first up, we have Jonathan Taylor. He is playing the Houston Texans in week 1. Pretty obvious, number 1 overall. I would actually have Chris McCaffrey number 1 overall in a lot of weeks, but since he is playing the Houston Texans, it's just a matchup that he can absolutely dominate. Pretty easy number 1 overall. With that said, though, I will have Christian McCaffrey at my number 2 running back. He's playing the Cleveland Browns in week 1. A tougher matchup, but not a super elite matchup. They obviously have good players like Myles Garrett. And there's some questions with the offense being new quarterback and different weapons coming in. But it's Christian McCaffrey. He is completely matchup proof. He can be the running back 1 on the week without even scoring a touchdown. So he's somebody you're going to just set and forget it if he's playing. Can't really say much else about him. The other person who I have at running back 3 who I think could also finish as the running back 1 this week is Derrick Henry, another person who, if he's playing, he is going to be absolutely elite for you. He's going up against the New York Giants, so another defense that's not very good too, so it just makes for a really good matchup for him. It will be interesting to see how he's used with AJ Brown out of the offense now. It's definitely going to have their offense take a step back, but he's going to get as many touches as he can handle. And another thing about like these top 10, 12 running backs or whoever, like you're going to be starting all of these guys regardless of where I have them ranked, so don't be worried about that too much. These guys are all extremely elite and they're going to be in your starting lineup unless you're in some weird like 6-man league. That's the end of tier 1. It's these 3 guys. The start of tier 2, I have Austin Eckler. He's playing the Las Vegas Raiders in week 1. Another defense that had just been historically really bad over the past 10 years. It did make some moves this offseason to become better, so we'll see how that plays out. I think it could kind of be more towards the pass rush side. And the Chargers are also in a super elite offense. Like he's going to be fine. He's going to be utilized a ton. Going to get a lot of receptions, a lot of targets. Just another person just set your lineup and forget about it. The first person I may have a little bit higher than some people expect is my number 5 running back, which is Alvin Kamara. He is playing the Atlanta Falcons in week 1. That's a big reason why he's ranked as a top 5 running back. He's another person who is just, when he is playing, he is absolutely elite. One of the most efficient runners and pass catchers in the NFL. He definitely had some question marks to start the redraft season just because we didn't know what was going on with his suspension and his court case. And also there's so many questions with the offense. But it looks like he'll be fine. Not going to get suspended, it seems like, this year. He's going up against a terrible defense to start it off. Chris Olave still needs to get integrated. Michael Thomas also coming back from injury a bit. So offense is going to run through him against a bad defense. Top 5 running back for me, Alvin Kamara. The last person I have in this tier 2 is another person who's extremely elite, but he's going against a good defense in the Green Bay Packers. That is Dalvin Cook. Like I just said, going against the Green Bay Packers, but he is one of those matchup-proof running backs where if he's playing, he's going to be absolutely balling out. I have him ranked the lowest out of these guys a lot because of that matchup. And with these guys, like I said, you're kind of just splitting hairs. They're all playing no matter what in your lineup, so don't really worry about him, but I have him ranked in the last person in this tier right here. Now, my next tier is definitely a step down in kind of the efficiency and eliteness, but still absolute workhorses who you're going to be setting your lineup regardless. The first guy I have in here is Joe Mixon, part of the Cincinnati Bengals. He's going to be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1. Now, the Steelers are an absolutely elite defense, part of the reason why I have him in this next tier. Bengals are an elite offense, though, so it's going to kind of counteract it. Mixon hasn't gotten all the receiving work we've wanted to see him get, still enough to be an elite running back option, but he's not getting that kind of Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler type work, and that holds him back from being in those upper echelon, but he's still going to get 20 plus touches in a game. Offense is great. So everything pretty much checks the box besides just one little thing. So that's going to put him into tier 3. Another person who's kind of in a similar boat who I have as my running back 8 is Najee Harris. He is going to be getting all the receiving work he can get, all the rushing work, every pretty much touch he can handle. He's going to get it. They're going against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are not of good of a defense as the Pittsburgh Steelers, like Joe Mixon is playing. It's funny, and they're going up against each other. But the offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers is significantly worse than the Bengals. And who's better between Mixon and Najee? I don't know. You're kind of splitting hairs there. That's not really what's important. Regardless of the bad offense, though, Najee will be getting enough touches where he's going to be an elite fantasy option every single week. He can be a little bit higher in better matchups. The Bengals being an elite offense definitely does help, though, because they're going to have to keep throwing the ball, and hopefully some of that will go to Najee. It's going to be interesting to kind of see how that plays out with the new offense. New quarterback, more weapons. Could go a lot of different ways. So this first week's going to give us a good opportunity to see what the Pittsburgh Steelers will be doing, because they're coming into a firefight right away against the Bengals. But these are the two guys I have in this tier right here. Moving on to the next tier, the first guy I have is DAndre Swift. He's going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, which is a really good run defense. So that's definitely scary, but he's another person who's kind of matchup proof. He does a lot of his work in the receiving game. One of those people who doesn't need a lot of touches to be super elite. And it seems like the Lions kind of want to feature him more and more this year. I think this first week will give us a pretty good idea. Lions are actually going to be giving Swift the work that he needs to be like a top 5 running back, or if they'll be spelling him with Jamal Williams like they were a lot last year. There's definitely a chance that they do that to start off, and then as the season progresses, Swift completely takes over. But we'll see with week 1. It could be a really good indicator of what the rest of the season is going to look like. He's still an elite top 10 running back option, so starting with confidence here. Next guy I have on this list is in a similar boat, but part of a lot better offense, is Aaron Jones. I have him ranked below because he'll probably be splitting a lot of work with AJ Dillon, but he'll be getting kind of the valuable receiving work. The red zone, we're going to kind of have to see what's going on there, but I think the offense is going to run through Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon there. They're going up against the Minnesota Vikings, which is a good run defense. Not as good as the Eagles are, but still a good run defense, but that doesn't really matter. You're kind of focusing on Aaron Jones for his receiving work. That's where his real value comes, and he legitimately has a chance to lead the Packers in receptions and targets this year, so another person who I feel absolutely confident starting. And the last person I have this tier is a person who will be getting all the work he can handle. That's Saquon Barkley, somebody we haven't really seen reach his potential besides in his rookie year, and then from there on out he's had to deal with injuries and it's been really disappointing, but he's one of the most elite talents we've seen. All the reports are that he's 100% healthy. The real issue with him is part of the Giants offense, and they are absolutely terrible. They're also going up against the Tennessee Titans, who have a really good defense, so it's just another thing to kind of be worried about. Saquon, though, is one of those people who will be getting all the work he can, so he's going to be an elite running back option while he's playing, but this is going to kind of be the make or break year for Saquon, so we got to see if he can really be that guy. I mean, we know he can be. He's one of the most insane prospects we've ever seen, but he just has not been able to put it all together since his rookie year. I think if he can stay healthy, though, that he'll be able to this year, so I'm starting him at the back end of this tier as my running back 11. To start off my next tier, we are going with Nick Chubb. Now, people have pretty mixed opinions on Nick Chubb this year. He's one of the best runners in the NFL, but they lost Baker, who he's been with his entire career, and Jacoby Brissett is starting for them, who is, one of the lower ends of the starting quarterbacks in the league, and Deshaun Watson isn't coming back for a very long time. He's also doesn't get the receiving work from Kareem Hunt, but he's just so talented that you kind of have to have him around this top 12 range. They're also going against the Carolina Panthers, who are not a very good run defense, so I think that he could get a ton of work and be really valuable. I think the offense will kind of run through him, so he'll get the work that he can handle, but you can't really put him in that elite tier given his overall offense and his lack of receiving ability. The next person I have is Leonard Fournette of the Buccaneers. He is going up against the Dallas Cowboys. They got a pretty solid defense, not the most difficult, but not the easiest. He's a part of that elite Tampa Bay offense, though. Honestly, at this point, though, it's still unsure if Chris Godwin will be starting or not, but Lenny's going to be getting a lot of work and a ton of receiving work. Tom Brady trusts him a lot, and that is what is really important. I also think that this Dallas game could kind of be a shootout. They're both good offenses, although the Dallas offense without Amari Cooper, we'll kind of have to see what goes on there, but I think Leonard Fournette's part of a great offense and will be getting majority of the work, especially to start the season. So he's somebody who I feel very confident starting, kind of that start of the high-end running back 2 range. There's not anyone else on the roster to really challenge him too much. We'll see if Giovanni Bernard takes some work away, or maybe the rookie Rashad White does. So this first week will be a good indicator of if Lenny will be going up more, I think, or it could be going down with some of his work getting taken away. So this is someone I'm kind of interested to see at the entire Tampa Bay offense. There's been so many question marks this offseason that to finally see on the field and see what's going on, I think it'll be good for everyone. The next person I have at running back 14 is James Conner. He is going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. They were up and down last year as a defense, so it's kind of hard to know what they'll be like. They did lose some people on the cornerback end, but that obviously won't affect the rushing too much. But I do think this game is going to be a shootout, so there's a lot of opportunity for James Conner to score. That's part of the reason I kind of have him up here. I also think he's another one of those people who could start to lose work as the season goes on, so this is kind of one of the higher ends of where he could be ranked. But if he doesn't lose that work, then he could kind of shoot up how he did at the end of the season. Another matchup that I'm really interested to see take place, that Kansas City versus Arizona, will be absolutely electrifying week 1 game, must watch TV. But this is where I got James Conner. He's still in the same tier. Definitely some question marks with him, but I think he'll have enough work and opportunity where he'll be really good for fantasy this week. The next guy I have at the back end of this tier is Javonte Williams. Now, some people might have him ranked a lot higher, which I can get behind it. He's playing Seattle, which is not a good defense, so there's obviously room for him to absolutely dominate. This is probably one of the lowest I'll have him ranked all season, because if they're going to be having a 50-50 split in Broncos Nation, then it's going to be week 1. Although there's a possibility that Russ just wants to absolutely destroy them, and he could just go absolutely crazy and just feed Javonte because that's their best option. We don't really know. There's no way to predict that. I think that at least to start the year, it's going to be a split, and so that's kind of why I have him ranked here. I do think Javonte will be the starter from the get-go, but what does that mean? 55% of the snaps, 60% of the snaps? We'll have to find out, but this is kind of one of the lowest I'll have him ranked all season. I got Javonte at running back 15. To start the next tier, I'm going to have Ezekiel Elliott. He's somebody who's going to get a ton of touches, it sounds like, but they are going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have one of the best run defenses in the NFL. It's really terrifying. I think they might have played week 1 last year. I can't look it up. I'm not going to look it up right now, but I'm pretty sure they played, and I know he did not do good at all week 1 last year. There's a lot of worry there for a Zeke, but he's one of those people where he's just going to get so much volume, I think, especially to start the year, that you kind of have to rank him in the middle of the running back 2 range just based on volume alone. And if he can actually produce against this defense, then it's going to be a really good sign for him going on. So definitely another matchup I want to pay attention to and kind of see what happens. After that, in this tier, I have Elijah Mitchell of the Niners. He's playing the Chicago Bears for week 1. Really good matchup for Elijah Mitchell to start it off. They lost a lot on their defense, and they already weren't great. And, every single year it seems like there's a new running back with the San Francisco 49ers, but as of right now, he is a starter and he will get the reps. And I'm sure they want to start Trey off slow, so they could run the ball through him a lot. That's why I have him ranked higher than where he's been drafted at running back 17 for this week 1. I think he can do really good this week. We will see if someone like Tyrion Davis-Price gets work or anyone else in that backfield. But right now, he definitely seems like the clear lead back, and they have a great matchup to start it off. So got Elijah Mitchell here at running back 17. Next up on the other side of the field, I have David Montgomery going against the Niners. Another person who will be getting just all the work he can, it seems like. The Niners, though, are a really tough matchup to go against. That's why I have Elijah Mitchell ranked ahead of him. I think he'll probably do a little bit better just based off that matchup, but David Montgomery is someone who I'd want over him. I think he has the role completely locked up with that volume. But for this week, I have Elijah Mitchell ranked ahead of him, but I still feel pretty good about David Montgomery. Another person kind of like Zeke, not as talent-wise or not good of a team, but someone who was just going to get all the volume that he can handle. And in fantasy, especially with running backs, that's what you want when it really comes down to it, is volume, opportunity. That is what can win you weeks, matchups, everything like that. After that, the last person in this tier is Travis Etienne. He is going up against the Washington Commanders, another really tough defense to go against. That's why I have him ranked a little bit lower. It also sounds like, James Robinson's probably going to be ready for week 1. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out, because he's coming off a torn Achilles. We just haven't seen anyone really do good off a torn Achilles, especially not this early. Cam Akers came back last year in a similar time span, but he wasn't very good. And they have a stud like Travis Etienne, so it'll be interesting to see how they split that. He's also another person who will be getting the actual valuable work in the offense, the receiving work. Goal line, probably we'll have to kind of see. I did not expect James Robinson to be ready for the start of the season, but he is, so it'll be interesting to kind of see how that actually plays out on the field. The Commanders, though, are also a really good team, they are not a good team. They are a good defense, and that's going to drop them a little bit lower just because they're a good defense, and I don't think they're not an elite offense, so they're not going to be able to overcome that very much, but I think he'll be getting the receiving work and enough work where he'll be really good, and he's an absolute freak athlete where he can break off one of those 80-yard touchdowns. Not obviously never predicting he's going to do that, but he has that ability. That's why I have him ranked in this tier of guys right here. Okay, starting it off on my last tier for this video, we're going to have Antonio Gibson. One of just the craziest off seasons I've seen for a guy. I mean, just the roller coaster he went on of thinking he was going to be the only back to start it off with J.D. McKissic leaving, him coming back, them drafting Brian Robinson sounding like he's taking over the role, and then him unfortunately getting shot in the leg, and now Antonio Gibson kind of has this role at least to start the season off. They're also going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is not a good defense at all, so that's really beneficial for him. So there's kind of a lot of things that add up for him being this high, which, I mean, he's still the running back 20, and he's somebody who, I mean, I really loved coming out of the draft 2 years ago, and kind of seeing what's happened to him has been a really bummer. So it'll be interesting to see what the team actually does with him on the field, if he'll get the actual work or if they're going to give it to J.D. McKissic. But for right now, I have him ranked at the top of this tier as my running back 20. Next up, I have A.J. Dillon, also a part of the Packers. I think he's somebody who is going to be splitting the role with Aaron Jones, but he'll be getting a lot of the rushing work, probably a lot of the goal line work. I think, though, that the entire offense is kind of going to run through both of them, so every single week they are going to have value. And seeing how that role is actually split up is going to be very telling for the rest of the season this week. And I think that the offense is good enough where it'll be easily support two, at least running back twos, although I think Aaron Jones can easily finish as a running back one. But the offense is good enough, Aaron Rodgers is good enough, and there's going to be enough opportunity for them both to do that. So pretty confidently have him ranked in my top 25 running backs. I have him ranked right here now, my running back 21. Next up is someone who I didn't originally have ranked in here. Is going to be Miles Sanders. It's mostly because he's going up against the Detroit Lions. And although they did get Aiden Hutchinson this offseason, we're not being able to factor that into fantasy. He has not really played a down of football yet. Definitely a defense that you want to target. I also think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be a run-first offense, so there's a good chance Miles Sanders gets enough work and have some scoring opportunities, and he's one guy that can actually break one of those big plays. Now, there's a lot of competition in the backfield, so it'll be good to see how that role is actually split out. But this week, at least, I think he can be a top 25 running back. After that, we are going to be having Josh Jacobs. My running back 23, he's playing the Los Angeles Chargers, who they were an absolute run funnel last year. They just were one of the best defenses to target for running backs, but they did make some improvements this offseason, so it'll be good to see how that goes. The Raiders also cut Kenyon Drake, which has given me a little bit more confidence in Josh Jacobs, but having him play in the Hall of Fame game, I mean, that really worried me. And also, the new regime really likes to use a running back by committee approach, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I think that this game is going to be a really high-scoring game, and he's one of those people that really does well in games where they score a lot of points. He's not a matchup-proof person, and without Kenyon Drake, I think he'll get some opportunity this week one to kind of show what he can do. And if not, then it can just be a running back by committee, like it seems like it definitely could be. But for right now, I'm having him ranked right here as my running back 23. Next up, we're going to have Thursday night Cam Akers as my running back 24. Going up against the Buffalo Bills, that is a really tough defense. He's also coming off an Achilles injury, although he did play at the end of last year. He was not very good at all. There's also a good chance I feel like they're going to give Darrell Henderson some work, especially to start the season off. Who knows? I mean, Akers could completely take it over and just be absolutely fine, although I kind of doubt it. We just haven't seen it before, so it's hard for me to really bet on it. I still think the offense is good enough and he is talented enough where he can be kind of in this top 25 running back, but I'm not expecting a lot in this first week from him. And the last guy in my running back rankings for week one is going to be Chase Edmonds. He is going up against the New England Patriots, which is a good defense, but not probably as good as people think they are just because they're the Patriots. They're a good defense, but not a great one. I think Chase Edmonds is going to be featured a lot this year. I think that he's going to be schemed up in a lot of ways that he hasn't really been used as before. And I think he can be really valuable. He's somebody that I feel good about this week. I think he's going to get enough targets to be safe. I definitely think he will have the opportunity to score a touchdown since his offense will be so much better. And I really think he's going to be able to dominate this role. So he's the last guy I have in my top 25 running backs. Some other guys that I have right outside that just didn't make this list: Rashad Penny, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Those two guys I feel pretty good about. You could really switch them with anyone in the back end of this tier 6. They would fit in right here too. So majority of these guys, I feel pretty good about. Obviously, there'll be disagreements with people watching this video. Let me know what you think, where you would rank these guys differently. If you have questions about other guys that I didn't talk about in this video, or running backs versus wide receiver, running back versus tight, any of those type start-sit questions for week 1, please drop them in the comments. I will get to you as fast as I can. Wide receiver rankings should be coming out right after this, so stay tuned for that, and I will see y'all there. Later.